and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with
Justin the Clue.
And Colin Cunningham.
And it is a new year. It is 2019.
Happy New Year, everybody.
How are we changing things up? What are our resolutions? Only watch good movies now.
Yeah, I have a short, sassy new haircut, and I'm ready to watch lots more bad movies that are secretly awesome.
And I've got a bad attitude.
And I'm going to only record these podcasts at the gym because I just signed up for a new membership.
I'm on the elliptical right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I just signed up for Good Life Fitness.
Well, that actually goes, we had kind of a theme this week, which was women fighting. A little
vaguely.
bit. That was the idea. It didn't really work out that way. So we watched a Cynthia Rothrock movie, although she's not starring in it. She's in it. It's called...
Not enough.
It's called The Magic Crystal.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just Magic Crystal.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
As the
Magic
words
Crystal.
explode on screen at the beginning of the film in a way that could only be done when they had to be done practically. You can feel the people like pulling up the, I guess, like...
the title's like hand carved out of actual crystal, and then there's like an explosion.
This is a Hong Kong film. What year did it come out?
I think it was 1986.
86, I believe.
Okay, it was directed by a guy named Wong Jing, who's most famous for directing a bunch of schlock in Hong Kong, including Naked Killer and City Hunter with Jackie Chan. Just big, wacky movies. And this was his attempt to, I don't know, cash in on Jackie Chan, Indiana Jones, and E.T. all at once.
I get 100%. I could absolutely see Jackie Chan in this role. Like, there were some moments where I was looking at Andy Lau, and I'm like, wow.
So Andy Lau stars in this film, and he's probably one of the biggest pop stars ever to come out of Hong Kong. He is still a massive star to this day, still headlines films, and this was 1986. He was very young, and it seems like they weren't quite sure what to do with him, so it's one of the rare times he does action. You may know Andy Lau if you saw the original Infernal Affairs, which was remade as The Departed by Marty Scorsese.
Was he Leo or...
I don't remember which one he was.
One of the main characters, I'm sure.
But
Probably
here
Matt
he's
Damon.
kicking butt.
He's really good, actually.
And you guys said that you actually haven't seen that many Hong Kong movies, right?
I've seen a lot of Jackie Chan. I was a Jackie Chan fanatic.
So you're like Rebel in the Bronx, Shanghai Nights.
No.
No, the original.
Around the World in 80 Days.
The Hong Kong
underrated.
ones. Oh, was it The Spy Next Door?
Oh boy, shot in Toronto. Did you not work on Spy Next Door?
Probably.
If I had to pick a movie that you worked on, it'd probably be The Spy Next Door or what is the one where he's like a babysitter? I forget what.
Jackie Chan?
Sorry, I was thinking of The Tuxedo because that was shot in Toronto.
That was Toronto, yeah. Oh, actually, my friend did work on The Tuxedo, and he had some very funny stories.
Shocking.
But no, I actually haven't seen like any Hong Kong movies. I think the only ones I've seen are like for this podcast and maybe because there's monthly screenings at the Royal.
At
Toronto.
Laser Blast Film Society. You watch Future Cops, which was also a Wong Jing film.
Director. So no, was Wong Jing in Future Cops? Because he's in this movie.
I don't think he was. Yeah, this is a film that we mentioned Andy Lau stars as a police officer who is the most cash police officer in the world.
He doesn't seem to be like...
Not a care in the world.
Not a care in the world. He's vacationing. He doesn't seem to be any urgency at all.
And he's teamed up with the director of the film, Wong Jing, who plays a chubby loser.
A buffoon.
He's the comic relief character. He gets all the jokes. 100% of the... Well, actually, there's another slightly comedic performance, but we'll get to that later.
That's right.
What is the plot of this movie?
So the plot is that some dude finds something in Greece and calls Andy Lau and is like, come down to Greece from Hong Kong. I need to give you something. And then shenanigans ensue. Yeah. And let me just cut to the chase and say that the object that he needs to give Andy Lau is a magic crystal that is like an E.T. Like it could talk, it can grant wishes.
It's a sentient rock.
It has magical powers.
It looks like a giant piece of jade.
Well, they call it jade.
Jade,
but yeah, it's like a big raw.
Oh, we forgot
rock.
that Wong Jing has a nephew who's an annoying little boy with glasses.
And his name is Pin Pin.
Pin Pin. Everyone's always screaming, "Where's Pin Pin?"
Yeah, that was the Peter Jackson movie, right? Or
Pin Pin. Yeah, that's right. Secret of the Eupanorn or something like that.
Oh no, wait,
Secret of
that was
the Ooze.
Steven Spielberg.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The Adventures of Pin Pin.
Yeah, the Adventures of Pin Pin. Yeah, very racist.
When
Andy Serkis played the
every role
played the Jade Rock.
His name is Pin, but his mom calls him Pin Pin Pin.
Pin Pin.
And Pin just makes me think of that David Hewlett movie. But you
The
know,
one where like
that's a great movie, you guys.
the David Hewitt film where they love that like fucking see-through sex doll.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to say fuck doll and I got my fucks confused.
It's that fucking see-through sex
We gotta
doll.
watch that at some point.
Pin.
But yeah, this movie.
So they go to Greece and they meet Cynthia Rothrock.
Yes.
Yes.
Now you think that she's a bad guy at first, but then you find out she's.
She's an Interpol agent.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's working with the cops, but she's like a secret agent from America.
And Cynthia Rothrock is introduced in a fight scene where she's carrying around a bag, and all of us were like, "Oh boy, I don't know what weapon this is, but
Yeah.
I'm excited."
It looks
like a bad, if you were like a pool hustler.
I was gonna say,
and you're carrying around your own custom pool cue.
Yeah, a pool cue that you screw apart and keep
But
in a bag.
it's her, and it's going to be some weapon.
It kind
It's
of
gonna be
is
awesome.
though, because
Yeah.
it's one of those sticks that are attached by chains.
Yeah.
and then she attaches them.
It's
and
like
then
a
uses
blind
them as
man
a bow.
cane, with like the elastic connector that you can sort of fold it.
You guys
except it's got
know.
a spear point at the end.
I was very
yeah.
disappointed because I thought it was one of those like sectioned off staffs that you sometimes see in kung fu movies that they use, but she just
Yeah.
kind of like stretches it out and it instantly becomes a pole.
Yeah, she
that
put
she
it back together too fast.
Suddenly starts fighting with.
And like I have to say, we've only ever seen Undefeatable, which is the other Cynthia Rothrock
That's the only
movie.
other Cynthia movie we've seen.
She's fucking amazing. This fight scene is so good.
This is the thing about Cynthia Rothrock, who I'm sure is going to appear a lot on this podcast because she made a lot of not so good movies, is that she's an amazing martial artist. And when she started in film, she started working with Sammo Hung in Shanghai Express, which is like, he is the best martial arts director ever. And he knew how to use her because she can move. She's tiny, but she can do so much stuff.
Yeah,
She's
she's
so
very
nimble,
amazing. Very
but,
nimble,
like-
very graceful, and very.
She loves baggy blue shirts.
all the
in
better
this
to move
movie.
around in.
At one point, she wears like a puffy shirt that's just like all blue. It almost
Yeah.
looks like a Michelin Man suit.
Yeah, and it's just billowing and it's got pleats. But
she's fun. And then at one point, she's got a pink track pants and a pink track, like a sweatshirt on.
Yeah.
And then she's just got a red jacket over. But it's like a very
Windbreaker.
kind of like 80s mom
She
clothing.
looks exactly like an 80s
Yeah.
she
mom.
has like a mom haircut
She's
too.
got the kind of
but that was
shorts.
popular at the time.
Yeah, the bob kind of thing.
But the thing is, like, in Undefeatable English language movie, she's not a bad actress.
She's
Like,
okay.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
She's okay, but like I wonder like why, because I watched an interview clip with her recently where she was like, I was told to come to America and not do any more Hong Kong movies because that would be bad for my American image. And then I came to America and didn't make anything good.
They wouldn't
I
put her in
couldn't-
anything.
I couldn't get a job here, so I should have just stayed in Hong Kong and made these movies that I love, and I get to actually do stuff. So
It's kind of a bummer because she was like a star. She was co-starring with Michelle Yeoh in films like Yes Madame or Jung Bao in Righting Wrongs. Like they were headlining her,
Yeah.
and then she come to America where they have no respect for stunt performers, especially if
Yeah.
they're women, and they're like, screw you, you're
I think
going
they
to
just
star.
sidelined her and pretty much
Well,
didn't
I
put her in
think like the
anything.
woman thing probably worked against her, but I wonder in America she wasn't popular. Was it because that she was white? There weren't any like white female kung fu stars.
I don't think there were like
There were
any
no
white
any female kung fu
Fu
stars
stars.
at all in America.
and
Not back then.
No, not back
but
then.
like male kung fu stars. Like look at like Jet Li or something much later. But it's like they wanted Asian people to do these martial arts things. You know?
I can understand what you mean. Like anytime you would see martial arts in like American action films, most of the time it's played as like a joke. It's like
Yeah,
da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
and if you look at like '80s action stars, that's not martial
Also,
arts.
like this movie was shot in 1986, Magic Crystal.
Yeah, it was 86.
Like, look at the action movies as far as like fighting was in America. It's like people fighting in the sand like kids.
Like I was
Yeah.
telling you, like there are so many fight scenes in this movie, and at one point I like turned to Justin and I'm like, any one of these would be the highlight of any North American action film,
even now.
even now.
Yeah.
And it just blows anything away.
And this is like a throwaway like comedy action movie.
It's like a Three's Company movie. You know what I mean? It's like there's
It's
so
also
many.
a kids movie. That's also a sci-fi movie.
It just has everything in it, and it's just like, yeah, like you said, a throwaway movie, and just full of these action scenes that are just so fucking amazing.
Well,
Yeah.
now that we've talked about the action scenes, I'm going to swerve and say that my favorite thing was that freaky Jade rock. Now, I sold this to you guys as an E.T. movie, and I didn't remember it very well, and I got a little bit scared at first because I was like, oh no, is it just a rock that glows and has like mental voices? Nope. it's filled with nightmare fuel because it grows little legs and walks around. It also has a very phallic thing that pops out of its head. It's like, touch me for power.
Yeah,
just
it's
so you guys
like
know,
E.T.'s glowing finger, but it looks like a penis.
It talks, but it's just like a female voice with like that sounds echoey that just comes out of nowhere.
And it also has a mouth.
It has a
and
tongue.
A tongue that looks like it's covered in jism.
It
It's
is
so gross.
disgusting.
It only happens once.
It's
What
like-
was it? What was it licking? It was licking something off the kid's
he
bed.
was feeding it like ice cream or something like that.
But yeah, so the boy loves the jade rock.
Oh, well, he loves the Jade Rock because it has magical powers.
Yeah.
Which I'll throw to Colin because I know what his favorite thing was.
What do you mean?
Because this rock can grant wishes.
Yeah, its powers are very vaguely defined.
Like at one point, the villain is like, if you cover it in a blanket, it can't use its powers. And it's like, when did anybody ever say this?
Yeah, and it convinces some person that, I'll give you mind control powers, but only within a 5-foot radius.
Yeah,
He didn't hear that part.
Didn't hear that part.
Because he tries to go and rob a bank. I mean, like most Hong Kong films, it feels like it was like made up on a whim. Like 15 minutes will be spent with a different character doing something.
Yeah, it's like it's a
Yeah.
mad world or
Yeah.
something. It's
Yeah,
just like,
it was like that. And it was hard to keep track of who was who because they kept introducing characters. It started off with a ton of characters, and they slowly get weeded out.
yeah,
Like they're going to Greece, and you're like, oh, I guess they'll have like adventures in Greece. Nope, because they go right back to Hong Kong.
yeah, and then Andy Lau is just waltzing through all of this with not a care in the world.
Yeah.
He barely even seems interested or connected to the main plot, in that stuff happens around him, and he just happens to be there.
To react. I mean, sometimes like he's walking through a parking garage at one point with a woman, and he has like bags in his hands.
And you think,
he's
"Go
like
to the
went to the
gym."
gym or something like that. And then the villains show up, and they're like, "We're gonna get you." And then suddenly, out of the bag, a grappling hook shoots out like a harpoon
Yeah,
gun, and we're
and
like,
they just
"Whoa!"
rappel down the side of a building.
That's right.
They were full of weapons.
Speaking of the villain, it's Richard Norton.
Yeah, Richard Norton,
Yes.
last seen in Gymkata for
Gymkata.
No Such Thing as a Bad Movie.
But I swear to God, he's still wearing the same. I'm pretty sure he had these spiky gauntlets that
It
he
could have
wore.
been shot like the same year. I think it might have been around the same because he looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
So you think that they were like, "Hey, you got those gauntlets? You got the job."
Yeah,
I think he even had the same like partially dyed hair. I'd have to go back
pretty
to
sure.
Gymkata.
Yeah, I think he had
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kind of
Just
blondie.
the top is blonde, and then he has like a brown mullet.
Yeah, it's like these sort of
The
like
carpets don't match the drapes or anything like
Yeah,
that.
but he's also wearing like the same kind of like V-neck shirt. Only in Hong Kong, it's like a regular like billowy shirt. It's not like a big like leather vest. And,
He gets the
and
shirt
Gymkata.
off at one point. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Look at my
They
abs."
sneak onto the boat. He's a
his two
built dude.
henchmen are wearing full scuba suits, and he just has no shirt on.
He's like, I don't need a wetsuit. It's my skin.
Yeah.
I threw this to Colin, but the jade. Remember, it has magic powers, and that was
Yes.
your favorite part. That you were like wrote it down, and you're like, "I love this part."
Wait, I've got a few things.
He's talking about the wacky
Okay.
scenario
So,
that happens.
We're talking. So at one point, this like weird character is introduced. He's like the kind of second comedic relief character.
Yeah,
And,
not enough. They need
so
a second one.
He tries to climb. He climbs through the kid's window to the outside of this house, and he sneaks across. He's walking on this.
He wants to
railing.
be a peeper.
a peeping Tom, and he wants to watch this girl like take off her clothes, and then The Rock,
Being the Judge Dredd-like figure that it is,
Yeah.
is like, "I'll punish him."
not Dwayne Johnson, it's the Jade Rock.
Yep.
he's like,
The Rock.
Dwayne-
Suddenly,
Dwayne
Dwayne
Johnson.
Johnson.
Johnson's in
Dwayne
it.
the Rock Johnson.
and he comes
He's
down.
starring in the reboot.
Yeah, and then The Rock says he's trying to peep on a girl. I'll show him.
I smell what the
he
Rock
comes-
is cooking.
And we have to say, speaking of smell, okay, The Rock's powers. When
Just call it the Jade. 'cause
Okay,
that's
the-
what they call it in the movie.
the Jade Rock,
Yeah,
the
or call it
alien
Mr.
rock.
Johnson.
So the Jade Rock says, "I've got mind control powers. I can make people see things." And then
The peepers like looking in.
releases this power, but the power that comes out of the Rock,
It's like someone smelled a fart.
it's like an animated fart smell that goes up people's noses.
But
and
you
they're like-
remember, he makes the girl look like a horror.
She turns around.
Yeah,
I'm
because
like,
she's taking her top off, and you're like, "Oh, is it going to turn into a man or something like that?" Like that would be the easy comedy thing to
Because
do.
The Rock says it's like, I'm going to put like evil nightmares in his head.
So the girl turns around, and I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be
Like
the
Wong Jing or
the fat
something like
uncle.
that,
or something.
yeah.
Haha. But then the girl turns around, and she just like starts ripping her skin off, and there's like
Yeah.
lizard skin. And this guy's reaction is
So
it's like
good.
something out of a Bugs Bunny or like Roadrunner or something cartoon.
He's like, "Whoa!"
wow, and he flies off the building, shoots about 10 feet away from the building, and like
lands like a
Backflips.
cartoon on the ground.
Spread eagle on the ground.
Yeah, like the way he's so shocked that he jumps backwards
And does a backflip
flies.
off this.
He does a backflip.
Probably
That's right.
50 feet off the ground and lands.
And then The Rock
God.
is like, ha, 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 that was good. Do you want me to change his body for 24 hours? It's like, hasn't he suffered enough?
More punishment.
Yeah, then the Jade Rock swaps his feet for his hands.
His hands. That sounds so insane when we say it, because nothing like that happens.
that?
Everything about this movie sounds
It was
insane
that
when you say
Simpsons
it.
bit with Dr. Nick who's like, but
yeah.
my old friend with a leg for an arm and an arm for a leg. It's like that, only he has 2 feet and his hands are on where his feet should be.
And then we spend 10 minutes where he's like, I gotta make it look like I don't have arms.
So he's doing yoga.
So he just crosses his legs on his bed and he's just like, I'm doing yoga.
He's like,
And
I'm
the-
stretching my
But
leg.
he's stretching
It
his foot on
works.
the wall, and it looks like he's got his leg up on the wall, and the guy's really
It's so
impressed.
weird.
Oh, and it's like one of the chief of police.
Yeah, the
character.
chief of police who's in this movie is actually the villain from Enter the Dragon.
That's right.
And you think he's going to be more in this movie. Like,
Nope,
it
he
seemed
gets
like,
killed.
It seemed like he's going to be like a big bad, but no.
So many things happen in this movie. Andy Lau goes to jail.
Yeah, Andy Lau is framed for a murder.
So the comic relief character who gets his hands and feet swapped, he ends up in a mental asylum, and he's never seen again.
Yeah, about
he
halfway
tries to
through.
rob a bank because he thinks he has magical powers, and then
They take
He's
him
outside
away.
of the 5-foot radius.
Yep.
And they haul him away to a mental asylum in a straitjacket.
and we never see
seen
him again.
again.
That's
Never
it.
seen again.
He got a lobotomy.
Lobotomy. I was just
he's-
hoping that they cut to him at the end of the movie and he's got a hole in his head and then he's
He was a
drooling.
creeper anyway.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he
Well,
deserved to die in a mental asylum.
Well,
Oh man, I
don't
hope
know.
April doesn't get her hands on to Jade.
God, don't ever watch Revenge of the Nerds.
I-
Oh, that's a terrible movie.
Yeah,
It's very
I've
offensive.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But my favorite part, well, I mean, aside from all of the awesome fight scenes, but there's one fight scene in particular that was awesome, which is there's the mom character of the little boy.
Mom
and
Pin Pin.
she's just, I think they just call her Mama or something. But she's just like making tea at night, like
Watching her programs.
watching TV, and her house gets, and she's knitting, I guess. Her house gets invaded by the bad guys, including
Richard
Norton.
Yeah. Old Beardy
I'm
himself.
going to say Graham Norton, but that's
Yeah, Graham Norton.
how about Ed Norton?
Ed Norton? No, nobody likes Ed Norton anymore.
But yeah, I was like, oh no, like what
That's
are they
true.
gonna do to this old woman? And like she takes out her knitting needle and like stabs it in the guy's face and does these like insane splits and kicks back. And I was like, oh, she knows kung fu too. Turns out she's actually a huge kung fu star, and she's amazing. And like an older woman, like older, like she was probably like 35 or something.
She does
but they
the
made her look
splits.
older.
Yeah,
Like,
she does the splits between like a door frame.
Yeah.
And she's pinning
two
these
guys, and she's balancing in the door frame, and she takes down like 5 guys plus Graham Norton.
And don't forget,
then,
she grabs the sword off the wall.
Yeah, so that's just like when they were carrying their weapons around with her. She just had all her weapons like displayed on walls. Is that why people do that? Who have
Yeah,
weapons?
so when robbers
in
burst
case.
in, you can just grab them off the wall.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's why
Pin to-
Colin has those chainsaws on the wall, like muskets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so when invaders come into my house.
The British.
It was a great scene though, and then like later in the scene, like
Cynthia Rothrock
Cynthia
comes
Rothrock
in.
bursts in and has a cool fight with
It's Richard Norton.
Richard Norton. Richard
I
Norton.
can see your mouth move. You're like, Graham.
I don't know. And also later in the movie, there's a spaceship. But
Their fight. Okay, we have to
yeah,
we have to
we'll
get to that.
get to that.
that was a
Their
good fight scene.
their fights are fantastic. There's one fight. I think it's Richard Norton and Cynthia Rothrock and Pin Pin's mom.
Yeah.
The same fight scene that you're talking
Probably
about.
the 3 biggest like martial arts stars in the movie, right? Because wasn't Andy Lau not?
He was not a martial
Not
arts
a
star.
martial
Even though
arts
he
guy.
does
He
all
does-
of his own martial
he does a
arts
really
in this
good
fight
job,
movie.
in the
actually.
movie, and he is good.
Yeah.
But the other 3 are like.
But their
Amazing.
sort of 3-way fight is really
Yeah,
really good.
yeah, he's like facing off against the 2 women.
Yeah.
and,
And
it's
he
like-
loses. And then because he has to
does.
leave. And I made a joke, which I was like, oh, if this was any other movie, I'd assume this was the climax. But I know there's another ending. And there is. They go to a warehouse and they have a bunch of fights.
You said that like 3 times.
That wasn't the climax. I was wrong.
Every
I'm like,
time
wait
you
a
think
minute.
it's the climax because oh wow, this is some amazing fight scene.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
another scene.
Where like Cynthia Rothrock is like dressed in like a white suit with a hat and she's like
They
beating
kind of
people
infiltrate the bad guy's base at one point.
No, the climax. I mean, there's a fight, but then the climax is
The ending of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
and also Close Encounters, and also E.T. and
And Indiana Jones.
Okay,
Yes.
here's the funny thing. So they end up going to this. They go back to Greece. Everybody,
AKA stand in front of some pillars.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they find this cave, and they find a UFO in the cave with a sort of like a desiccated alien. He's all shriveled up.
It looks like a classic gray, if people know your alien physiology.
Yeah, except it's white. But and then they like move it a bit, so it's like a puppet.
But up to this point, they have to like go through all these traps. They have to go through these lights
that
avoid
shoot
the-
like darts.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
like go through these light beams, just like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
there's like a rock that comes down from the ceiling,
Just like Temple of Doom.
ceiling crushing you.
So there's scenes like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom, and then we come across this UFO, and Justin, you're like, oh my god, this is like Crystal Skull.
And then when you see it, it looks like the alien from the Kingdom of
It's
the
kind of like a
Crystal
similar
Skull.
ending to Crystal Skull, but this was 1986, so it ripped off Raiders and Temple of Doom.
Yeah, obviously.
But then I think George Lucas watched this movie.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
you-
what it's called? Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
Yeah,
What the
it
fuck is the kingdom?
I don't know.
It's just the
Do you remember that
part of the
time that
world.
like Harrison Ford was asked what the next movie, and he's like, it's like the heart of Atlantis or something like that.
Was he talking about Crystal Skull or the next? If there was
it
a
sounded
next
like he
one?
just made it up, and
Well,
it sounded
that
like he was like looking around the room. He's like, it's the clock of Atlantis'
It's like-
dinner plate.
But it's like the usual suspects. He's looking around there.
The Kobayashi Maru. Steven Spielberg's like, I haven't read that script yet. I'm sure it'll be great. And he's looking around. He's like, oh my god.
It's the
So of course, this climax that happens in Greece, aka a warehouse in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to fight, lots of fun, and at the
So
end,
good.
Richard Norton jumps on the alien and gets taken away like Kate Blanchett at the
Yeah.
end of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
He just like disappears.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
unfortunately doesn't explode.
he-
flies away
Vaporized.
in like a lens flare. The ceiling looks like
It's like
the-
another fart kind of thing.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
ceiling looks like
yeah.
the Pantheon in Rome. It has like a kind of hole in the ceiling and a light shaft coming down. He kind of like flies out in a lens flare.
Yeah. So the rock it turns out it's a computer.
Yeah, he is.
It's a computer.
Soon to be our president.
Computer brain and a rock.
God, I hope so.
And then it sends the alien to space, and then it's like, I have to go too. And the little boy's like, no, I love you. The classic
E.T. ending.
E.T. Iron
okay,
Giant,
E.T.
whatever.
But don't worry, the rock poops out a smaller rock,
Shit's out a small rock.
and then the kid holds it, and he's like, yeah, and it's like the end.
And that's freeze frame in the end. Yay!
so now he has a magical rock. I
If
guess.
only all films could be this packed with silliness, but satisfying silliness.
Everything. It
There's
just has
also a
everything.
scene where the rock helps the little kid. I keep saying the rock. The Jade helps the little kid defeat his bullies.
Yeah,
which is another trope of these types of kid with. What's the name of that type of movie? Kid with an alien movie.
E.T. movies?
I don't know. I thought there was a name for that trope. but
Alien
whatever.
kid films. I mean, what?
I don't know. I didn't
What
think
are
there
they?
was.
E.T.,
Iron-
Mac and Me,
Iron Giant.
Nuki. There's one where a kid gets like an alien suit and it was mostly shot in Canada, and I don't remember what it's called. It's like a Guyver-like suit.
gonna
I've
say
seen
the
it. It's
Guyver.
fun. Yeah, it's the Guyver. Guyver 2 Dark Hero. That's pretty much CJ7, the Stephen Chow film.
It wasn't
which has a
Max
similar-
Steel, was it?
Yes. No, Max Steel came out a few years ago. I don't remember what it is.
there's way more of these movies. I just can't think of them right now.
And it's sad to watch Cynthia Rothrock in this film because, like, when she came to America, some of the films that she made were made with Robert Klaus, the guy who gave Bruce Lee a shot in America. He directed Enter the Dragon, and he also gave Jackie Chan his shot in America
that,
because he directed Battle Creek Brawl.
Right.
Robert Klaus is like a guy that, like, he obviously means well, but he can't deliver.
Yeah,
he directed Gymkata as well.
Oh,
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that was okay.
That's some stuff. That's some good stuff.
that didn't have like exceptional fight scenes. It had
Nothing like
pretty
this.
good,
Like, nothing-
nothing to this level.
You just, man, it's just. It's amazing how much better this is than anything.
I
you'd
know,
see
and the great thing is
in
like,
North
while
America.
like it's a quote unquote bad movie,
It's not.
The
This is
f-
one that I got under the wire.
It's great.
the
but
fight scene, like,
It would be considered trash to most people because it is a
yeah.
ripoff of all this stuff.
and not everybody can appreciate this kind of fight choreography.
But we're cosmic brains.
there's-
so we
there's
can.
the plot to get through, but when you get to the action scenes, I don't think anybody could watch it and not be impressed.
Well, some
Yeah.
people are not impressed by action scenes. Like they're just like they
Yeah.
don't. It doesn't like.
fuck those people.
And this
It
isn't
doesn't, like,
action;
register.
it's
Fuck
martial
those
arts.
people.
As I mentioned before, I have a martial arts background.
But speaking
And
of
it's
great action
fascinating.
scenes,
Oh god,
let's move on to our
terrible,
second movie.
terrible
Whoa.
segment. Okay, the second movie we watched.
Robert Klaus directed Enter the Dragon. They Call Me Bruce was a parody of Bruce Lee. The film we
directed
called
that one?
was no, it's a parody of Bruce
Okay.
Lee. The film we called was called Call me what? Too many calls. They
call me
by my
Macho.
name.
No, they call me by your name.
Okay. The second movie we watched was called "They Call Me Macho Woman."
And you're saying it like
I have to say it like that because it has an exclamation point.
it has
at
an
the end.
exclamation mark at the end though, not like Macho Woman.
They call me Macho Woman.
They call me Macho Woman.
Yeah,
And,
featuring a woman who's really not very macho until the very end.
And even then, not very macho.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
It may be one of our favorite things.
Yeah.
So this is a film that was directed by
Patrick Donahue.
who directed Parole Violators, which I suggested for this podcast, but Colin had done it for Red Letter Media before.
Yeah, so we might release it as a Patreon episode, but it's a movie that we all have seen and love.
Yeah, he did Parole Violators and Kill Squad, which RLM.
Yeah.
And They Call Me Macho Woman came between those, and I guess it was their attempt to get into the I don't know, Last House by the Left kind of sexual assault revenge.
Yeah, like woman
kind of thing.
revenge. Woman gets assaulted and then she gets revenge.
Bit like woman gets assaulted and assaulted
yeah.
and assaulted.
But it's not as graphic as that may sound.
It's
Yeah.
not.
She keeps getting captured and then running away and getting captured.
Yeah, to be honest, it's not like you actually there's not full on penetrative.
And there's no
rape.
nudity or anything
There's
like
no
that.
nudity, which
And then-
surprised me.
And
But
you
she
know,
is assaulted several times.
She is, but she's never she's always got this quip and one liner.
She has a very blasé attitude about being held hostage.
At one point, she
Yeah.
runs away and grabs her crotch and,
And she's like, yeah, and gives him the finger.
She was like, "You want some of this?" or
something like
Yeah.
that. So the plot of this movie is a woman with, I guess, a real estate agent.
Yeah.
They're going into the mountains and they come across Mongo.
It opens up with as a
in media res. No, it opens up with they introduce this gang and they are making drugs
slowly.
a very very long scene, and this is foreshadowing what
with
the
a
rest of
guy
the
with
movie
a
is going
very
to-
very sweaty face.
sweaty face, and he's sniffling, and he's sort of piling, measuring piles of cocaine. And this scene goes on for so long.
Yeah.
So long.
This is which will become a theme in this movie.
And when we
of
look at the running
padding.
time, 81 minutes. This is really long. Uh-oh.
And you're like, this is the opening scene. This is just going to be just padded scene.
Now, we should
for the
point
rest of
out
the movie.
that Parole Violators is just an action-packed thrill
It's
ride.
really fun.
action scene after action scene with a couple of quippy dialogue scenes, action, fight scene. Because
I think,
it just keeps going.
It's starring Sean Donahue.
Yeah,
which
who's the
is-
son of Patrick Donahue.
The son. Okay, I always thought they were brothers, but they're father and son.
Father and son, yeah.
You probably just assumed that.
I did, because
he's
I thought
a
it was-
grown man.
I don't know.
Although
yeah.
he's not very tall.
Sean Donahue.
I keep wanting to call him Miles Long
Well, it's
because that's the name of his character in Parole
mean inches high?
Violators.
Yeah, miles long.
It's like
Great.
the Ted David Pryor kind of thing.
Because they're
Yeah.
brothers, and that's what you're probably thinking
But
of,
no,
right?
it's actually
yeah.
his father.
And then
apparently.
there was Richard Pryor, who went on to be a comedian.
Yeah.
Who was the other brother?
He was yeah.
One of us may have said Richard Pryor accidentally a bunch. You know those David Pryor, Richard Pryor films?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, one was a very talented comedian.
So the woman, she just keeps getting captured by this gang led
Yeah,
by
sort of-
Mongo.
Yeah, it opens up. I guess she's looking for a house.
Mm-hmm.
they
out in
really
the
don't
country.
explain it. He's just like, I'm a real estate agent, and they're
Cecil.
bickering in the car, and then it
yeah.
crashes, right?
Yeah, Mongo and his gang. Mongo being this big guy that I think Colin looked it up.
Yeah.
Was a shot putter. It was his only acting role. I mean, everyone in this movie, it must have been their only acting role.
First
Except for
of all,
Sean Donahue.
oh my god, he's really,
Superstar.
really bad. And I said he looked like Peter Boyle.
He
looks
looked
like a
exactly like Peter Boyle.
He looked
But-
like the size of a wrestler,
If Peter Boyle had gone to the gym and was like a massive,
Peter Boyle in
6'5".
Young Frankenstein.
Let himself go on the seat a little bit as well. He's not rippling muscles anymore.
He's just
kinda-
big
he's
and
big.
Huge.
bulky.
This guy is so massive, and
He's got a
yeah,
big
he's got a
bald
shaved
head.
And then I looked
Yeah.
him up, and his name is Brian Oldfield. He's a world famous shot putter, and apparently had perfected the rotational style of shot putting.
Disappointingly, no one throws any shot puts in this film.
No,
No.
he doesn't toss a human like a shot put.
Yeah,
That would have been amazing. 5 stars if
never-
it had happened.
He could barely lift a hammer in this movie.
No, he always lifts up the woman by his her neck
crotch.
with one hand.
I don't remember that.
Okay, well, we should
Lifts her
point
up
out
multiple times.
that we're talking about Mongo being this big muscular guy.
Yeah.
This is a team of the weeniest
They're most
weeniers.
They're so inept.
Yeah.
But the thing is, some of them look like big and tough, but they act like
little babies.
Yeah.
Because like the woman, like she's chased by one of the guys. She goes into a barn. She closes the door. She wraps his hand in like, I guess,
some kind of wire,
like
yeah.
a coat hanger or something like that. And the guy just squeals for like 10 minutes. He's like, "Let me go! Oh, I'm gonna kill you,
you bitch!"
And
you
later on,
bitch.
they're like, "Someone go, go let Apple go free." And we're like, "Apple? Is that Gwyneth Paltrow's son?"
Yeah,
But this scene,
every scene.
It's so weird because she's in like a closet in a barn, and she figures out how to get through the ceiling. And we keep cutting back to Apple, going, "It hurts. Let me out. Let me out." It's
And it
so
goes on
bizarre.
so
this is
long.
yet another scene of just needless padding. Well, maybe it was needless because they had to fill running time.
80 minutes. And I mean, we've talked about this before, I believe, but it's crazy that distributors were like, people be pissed off. The movie's only 60 minutes.
No. Cut it.
They'd be
Cut it.
happy.
It's not
Like,
considered a legitimate movie, but
why?
like,
Why not?
I know,
made that
like,
rule?
Who made that's a dumb rule.
But what is the rule? Because I think I've heard
think it's
different things. Is it 72 minutes?
yeah,
or
something like
70?
74 minutes, an international distributor
has
won't
to
accept
be.
it.
That's got to
Yeah.
be. Come on.
Like if you're showing on TV, more time to show commercials.
We have to get rid
Yeah.
of that rule because I'm telling you, movies are too long these days.
Movies now are just the standard is 2 hours, and when we are watching a movie in the evening, it's always what's on our list and what's the shortest.
Oh, we always look at the runtime.
When a movie is like 90 minutes, I get like excited. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
It'll be done before you know it. You know,
Unless it's like 81, then I'm like, uh-oh, maybe they padded it out.
Yeah, maybe. But man, I'm telling you, it's like April and I like to watch. It's like the Halloween movie. October we like to watch the spooky movies.
The
We're
horror
going back.
movies.
We got Shudder, and they have all these old horror movies that we've never seen before, and we're going through them. All of them under 90 minutes.
They're mostly the 80s slasher movies. But
You know
yes.
what's funny is that a lot of those movies, though, were padded out. Like, I remember listening to Kevin Tierney, the director of Night of the Demons, talking about one of his films. I think it was like Witch Trap or something like that. And he's like, it was 70 minutes. And they're like, you need to add 10 more minutes. And you feel those 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I'd rather
because
put it
it's
in the
like-
credits.
Yeah,
you know
just
what I
make
mean?
those credits go so slow at
have them
the
go
end.
so slow.
And people can make jokes about it. I don't care as long as the movie moves faster.
I am happy when like a movie just zips along and it's in and out and done.
I said that once.
I
I'm like,
love
the
it.
perfect time for a movie is 75 minutes. And
You
like
said
people were
75.
angry at me.
I said 90, and then the more movies I watch now,
80,
that are at,
80-ish.
you know,
75 to 80 minutes
I'm
is perfect.
done at around like the 70, 80 minute mark. I'm like, I want
Yeah,
it to be
and that
over.
is actually causing people to not like movies as much because they're like, oh, it drags or this and that, and it's making movies less well received in general. But there's also this like feeling of that it just has to be 2 hours. Has to be 2 hours.
You know what was good back in like the 40s when there'd be B movies and it'd be like 62 minutes. Like look at those
Yeah.
Roger Corman ones are like 65 minutes. Perfect. You never see those films and you're like, man, I wish there was another hour added to them.
Oh,
that has
man.
never ever happened.
No, and then you see movies now. It's like
We sound like 100 years old. Movies
know.
in my day was
No,
their 3Ds and their shaking chairs.
read the room, brevity, no one
Is-
to leave,
Oh,
no one
yeah.
to get out of there.
The person who's like, I got ripped off. This movie was only 70 minutes.
Nobody says that.
Nobody ever says that.
No.
It's that one guy who goes to like the manager afterwards and is swearing in front of children
Yeah.
about getting his money back. He's never wanted back in that theater again. It's like,
Just
fuck
ban
off.
him. Yeah, no more. So they call me Macho Woman.
Oh, yeah, back to that movie.
Gets captured. Escape gets captured.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part, April?
Well, I do like that she eventually get some agency. Although the funny thing is, as she's saying, she doesn't really seem to be taking this whole thing very seriously.
No, she has like jokes all over the place.
Yeah, she's
constantly.
joking. Well, actually, okay, I get what my favorite part is. There's this part where she is on the roof of a car and she's like, why are you doing this? Because after several escapes, they are all coming at her again. It's this big group of men and one woman who mysteriously disappears halfway through the movie. Anyway,
I forgot about this part.
so there's this part where you see her legs and you just see the legs and she runs on the top of all their heads and then she runs away. And I think that's the part where she grabs her crotch. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
the
real
finger.
like Fonsei the Jet Li Hong Kong
It
film.
was
He does
like
that
a
too.
wire
Yeah, you can just see
thing.
somebody on a wire going, tuk, tuk.
Or I think Tony Jaa does it in Ukbak as well. He like jumps up and
That's
runs
right,
across
that's right.
people's
Yeah,
shoulders.
he does.
She
That
does
was
not
cool.
do it as a real stunt in
No.
this film.
No, it looks really weird. And then there's another part where I forget what the guy says. There's a martial arts guy, quote unquote.
Oh,
that
right.
comes-
Well, you're cutting to the chase a little bit bit because
Yeah.
finally she does suit up, and we're like, oh man, it'll be like Evil Dead, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's
No.
the slowest suit up you've ever seen.
She finds a cabin. She's running away.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, the whole middle part of this movie is her driving away in a car, being chased on foot by like these 5 guys.
And she can't run, and neither can they.
And there's a scene where she's coming. Oh wait, no, she's not. Everybody hide. Wait, is she? And they walk out. No, she's coming back, and they hide again.
She's 10 feet away from them, can clearly see them all, and they're running up into the hills to sort of ambush her.
Horribly inept. These
Holy
gang
God.
members.
And they're always yelling at each other. We didn't even
Yeah.
talk about Sean Donahue,
Yeah.
the star of Parole Violators.
That's right, yeah.
Who has a hilarious
Like nose ring.
It's a nose ring attached to, like, it looks like a stud in his cheek, I think. I don't even. Or did it go to the
relayed.
ear?
It's got a relay to his cheek and then goes to his
One to
ear.
the ear, and then maybe into a lip ring or something.
It's
And
so
he also
bizarre.
has a trap display on his shirt,
So
aka
his-
it's a V-neck.
It's actually a peck display.
The neck hole
that's
in his
right.
shirt is so large it almost falls over his shoulders.
And it gets larger as the movie goes on.
I think, yeah, 'cause
he just ripped the neck hole of a smaller
I mean, there's that
shirt.
scene where the 2 guys just kind of tumble down the hill, including him.
Oh, he
Yeah.
really sells it too.
Yeah,
he
he
did the
does.
same stunt in. I think he's like a stunt man. So
He is. He worked on stunts and stuff like that with people.
You know what I liked about Parole Violators is like clearly, you know, these guys can throw themselves around and they may not have a huge budget or anything like that, but they know what they can do and they kind of
They can move, and they can jump through windows, and they can jump off buildings,
they can
and they
sell
can
stunts.
punch and kick.
Yeah, exactly.
you
So
know.
they kind of like, I don't know, play to
And
their
they can
strengths.
slowly show someone. You know, the woman in this film, who we found out her name was Susie in the end credits,
Yeah.
she actually has like a cool outfit, which is like a bunch of spikes around her waist, and she has like 2 axes.
Yeah.
She puts her shirt, like ties it up so you can
She's
see her
got the
midriff.
exposed midriff.
See,
yeah.
before this happens, she's wearing this humongous sweater,
and like a frumpy
like a
dress.
librarian sweater that's still done up all the way until this. So when she finds this cabin, she's really tired, so she takes a nap.
Okay, so you're
She
being
needs a nap.
pursued. You're being pursued by
Yeah.
you know rapist murderers.
Drug dealers.
You do what you know.
take a nap.
You
She's
take a nap.
really tired, you guys.
I like my sleep, so
She
I
has a
understand.
nightmare. Pad that shit out.
And then
Yeah.
doesn't she? What was that a nightmare?
it was a nightmare. Yeah,
It was okay. I think
yeah.
that might have been when I went to the bathroom.
Yeah, they burst in and then they like.
I
cut
thought
her
okay,
arm
so
off or
then
something.
she suits up and she's ready. She's
Very slowly.
Her whole
Very
her
slowly.
whole like demeanor changes.
It's like
So,
they-
like, throughout this movie, she's been running. April was like, does she have hip dysplasia or something?
She
'Cause
can't
runs out
run.
with, like, her arms out, and she's, like, wobbling.
she's running like
a
her,
Charlie Chaplin-esque.
her legs are really
well, first
sore.
of all, in the suiting up sequence, sorry, if you guys didn't notice, in the 20-minute suiting up sequence, she puts on these spikes. I don't know what they're
They're like
called.
spiky boots.
They're
Yeah.
spiky boots,
That-
and they're for climbing telephone poles.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have a strap that goes around the telephone pole, and these spikes. But the thing is, the spikes protrude a bit below the soles of your shoes. So when she tries to run,
Yes.
Thing is, she was running like that.
Yeah, I don't think she's
before.
wearing them later on. So, like, she looks all badass.
She is. She's
But
wearing
I
them
think
the entire
maybe they
movie.
filmed that first, and she was sore from because she's
Possible.
wearing like big nails and like 2 axes and heavy stuff. So it would be hard to run in that.
So we got to this buildup, which is she finally, like, gets in front of the whole group of baddies. She goes to them, and they're like,
Yeah.
we'll take you on. So they send the kung fu guy out.
Yeah, and
what happens?
he's like, this style kung fu 10 years, or he's like, I'm a black belt, and
Yeah, 15 years.
Yeah, and he throws this kick, but he doesn't kick her. He just balances his foot in front of her, and then she's like, ballet 6 months, and then she kicks him
and then
It stabs through his
spike
foot.
goes right through
because
his
she has a
foot.
spike in her foot. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so she kicks his foot, and it stabs through his foot, and he still comes back, and I forget what happens after.
Oh yeah,
that.
no, she throws 2 spikes in his eyes.
Oh yeah.
She throws spikes in his eyes, and then the guy stabs them so they go deeper into his head,
commits
and kills
suicide,
himself.
which makes Apple go, "What the fuck was that?"
Which I was about to say.
There was another comic relief character, which was the guy who was trying to he assaults her. He puts his hand under her skirt, and then she takes a twig and stabs it into his ear. Which, by the way, you guys, it would just break off. It was not even sharp. But
It was
for the rest
the
of
world's
the movie,
tiniest twig.
For the rest of the movie, he has this huge bandage and it's bloody, and he's going, "What? What was that?
Oh yeah.
What'd you say?"
It's trickier.
That's
That
his
was my
line.
favorite part of the movie was the camaraderie between all the goons, because you see them yell at each other throughout, and they
They're
all
angry.
have ridiculous names like Apple, Turk,
Mongo.
Yeah.
Mongo. All I can think of is
Mongo.
Blazing Saddles is Mongo.
And like when the woman finally shows up at the end, she's such a badass. She throws like an axe through a guy, and then she takes a whip out and whips it around the axe and pulls it back so it goes back into her hand.
Yeah, and puts it back into her holster.
And then Mongo's like, "Get her!" And she's like, "Oh shit!" And then she runs away in that bow-legged run.
Yeah.
Where it's like you could tell like these are real axes and they're really heavy. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Whoa!"
Yeah, she's doing all these like spinny twirly things, and then she tries to run away, and it's
Yeah.
not cool. Not a
Like
good,
the
not a good action
guys
hero.
can't run either because they're just so out of breath all the time. They
because
can't
they have
catch
like
up.
spike holes in them constantly.
I guess. Well, we didn't mention Mongo's cool helmet.
Yeah, his finishing move.
Oh yeah, so he wears a.
It shows up at the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
In the middle too.
Yeah, so it's like how he kills people. He's got these like it looks like a leather S&M.
Okay, it
kind of, like-
reminds me of what they put on like people's heads when they're on death row, like an old timey thing, like in the Green Mile. Where
Yeah,
it's
like a letter from death
leather
row.
No, it's like a leather strap, but it's
leather from death
open.
row.
Like there's holes in it, and
Yeah,
his
it's
is
like-
studded.
And
Yeah,
it
but
has
it's
like
got-
a unicorn horn at
It's
the
got
top.
one gigantic metal spike
Very,
in the middle,
very
and he
sharp.
headbutts people and he kills them.
Yeah.
We're making this film sound a lot more exciting than it actually is.
Well,
There's a lot of downtime.
In the last 15
takes a long
minutes, it
time
finally
to
gets
get there.
going.
Yeah, where she kills each and every one of them in different ways, including Georgia the Jungling on a vine to kick one of them.
Yeah.
And then she slams into a tree, which knocks her unconscious.
Even during her badass phase at the end, she keeps
Fucking up.
fainting or
Yeah.
fucking up, essentially, or knocking herself out or getting knocked out.
But she succeeds in killing everyone.
And there's no explanation for is she trained in this? Like, how does
She
she
had
know
6 months of ballet,
Ballet.
Colin.
Yeah. I
Listen,
don't know.
if you push someone far enough,
that's
it's like
what-
a
yeah.
mom that lifts a car. Suddenly you'll be like an axe whip champion. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me as long as it's fun.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
but
it's not like it breaks the reality of the movie
it's
up to
not
this
really,
point.
though. It's like, the last maybe, I don't know, 15 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
20 minutes tops is like, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite part?
I did.
You're asking like you're like
there
a
anything?
sad child. You're
It's like, did you have a favorite part? As you're like petting my head.
I don't think you did.
You don't have to go back to Chuck E. Cheese again, Colin.
Well, there was one part. Okay, so it just got so ridiculous at one point where she was constantly getting assaulted by these guys, and then she sees a car. These three guys are parked at the side of the road, and she's like, "Hey,
yeah.
save me, save me!" So she gets into this car.
Forgot about that.
And the driver, his name is Gino,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got these
Gino.
like two other dude bros.
Billy and somebody else.
Yeah, it's like Billy, Gino, and somebody in the back with her, and she's like, "I'm being chased by these killer guys or this killer gang."
Oh man, a chick.
A chick, and they're all drunk, and they're like, "Yeah," and then they start assaulting her.
I made it's like
Yeah.
I Saw the Devil, where like everyone's a serial killer, or
Yeah.
like everyone's
That's
super
right.
terrible.
They're driving drunk, and Gino's like talking to himself, and he's like, "Yeah."
He's like, Gino's got this under control.
Yeah,
And, like,
Gino's a smooth guy.
the sheriff's driving by, and he's like, hide her, blah blah blah. So obviously they're gonna assault her because they're all
Yeah.
drunk, and so they get attacked by the gang.
It's very
Yeah.
unclear what's happening. Suddenly the gang are masters of ropes.
Some guy just like throws himself into the front window. The car stops, and then one by one, these guys are taken out by the gang, and it's almost like really stealthy. They're like ninjas. They come out of nowhere.
I mean, they're doing this big drug deal, so I think the idea is they're like, we can't let her get away. She's gonna rat us out.
I know, but I just like.
But
I'm
it's so
talking
stupid.
I'm talking about my favorite thing is the kills. So they come in like one by one. They grab Gino.
Yeah, like a rope falls from nowhere.
They smash his head into a window, and then
yeah,
the guy
then they cut it off.
kicks his head into the glass, and then a rope comes into the back window and yanks the guy out. And
You know what? This scene of these guys
Yeah.
is 100% a reshoot to pad this movie out. That's why none of the bad guys appear in this scene, because none of them do.
Oh, and she
and
runs
there's a
away.
weird cut where
They're
she
all
runs
off
away
camera.
and she runs back.
She runs away from the car. It
And-
fades
Yeah,
out.
and then it hard cuts, and the gang is all there.
and then she runs back. That's why it's so weird, and you see no bad guys in that scene. We just figured it out.
wow.
The movie detectives.
Yeah,
That makes
because
sense.
it's like ropes are like flying out from nowhere.
Yeah, which is something that
you-
never happens
and you never
in the movie.
see any of the faces of
No,
the
you
bad
never
guys.
see any
because
of
you're
the
like,
faces.
since when have they been this clever?
She runs away from the car. It cuts, and she's already running back
to the car. Yeah.
with surrounded by the bad guys.
Movie
All right, that makes
magic.
sense.
Yep, because we were like, what the heck was that
Yeah, that
cut?
didn't make any sense. It felt like there was a scene cut out or something.
Because there's
Yeah.
also like a landowner that you see a bunch of times, and you follow him do a drug deal that makes
Yeah, he
in the
goes to
city.
he goes to L.A. and he's selling.
Yeah,
drugs.
that was probably a reshoot too.
Yeah, or just like a bit to pad that stuff out. And all we noticed was that he moves like RoboCop, where his eyes kind of like stay as he turns his body.
Yeah.
He stays locked on the camera.
He's
as
like
he
an
turns
old
his head.
man, and he's like funding, I guess, this drug deal.
Yeah. It
He
doesn't
goes
matter.
and like personally sells the drugs to the
Yeah.
dealers in L.A.
and then
And
he
they're like,
brings the money
we've been
in the
hearing
end.
that your drugs have been killing people. None of this matters. It's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah, we
we got to
thought he was gonna-
squeeze this past 80 minutes.
The character comes back, but none of that. I thought maybe like the drug dealer would come and
Nope, none of that matters.
No,
it doesn't matter.
so
Just
weird.
lots
Also,
of
I
padding.
thought they were hit because he's like, the drug dealer was like, word on the street is your drugs are killing kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, Miles Long gets his face shoved into the cocaine. And I was like, okay, he's just going to like,
Miles
he's
Long.
going to
Character from
seizure
another
and
movie.
die. No, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, the ending's kind of anticlimactic. I was
little
hoping
bit,
that like
yeah.
Sean Donahue would have like a big fight with her or something like that. 'Cause he's a
Nah.
stunt man. Now he gets taken out real easy. Old axe to the chest and
Yeah.
some of the worst sound effects. It's like
Yeah.
It all sounds like wooden
It
blocks.
sounds well because it probably came from just throwing a hatchet at a tree.
Yeah.
yeah, and they recorded the sound, so maybe they're all wooden men. It's a metaphor.
Mongo
about
is a pretty good.
Yeah.
Mongo gets his comeuppance.
Yeah, Mongo gets hit a bunch with some axes, falls over, like he's dead, and then she runs away, is like a mile away from the house, and Mongo jumps out from behind a tree, and he's like, "Arrgh!"
Yeah, he's like a Jason Voorhees, in this. And he's actually kind of dressed like Jason, like his.
And he does a
army
great
jacket.
move where he grabs her head and like tries to drag it toward the axe that he has in,
in his chest. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And he's wearing the unicorn spike.
And he puts it on very slowly.
He takes it out and puts it on. And then,
very slow.
and then what
Yeah.
happens? She moves her head out of the way for when he headbutts, and he gets stuck in the tree.
Yep,
Is that what
and
happens?
then she uses
Yeah.
her trusty axe to lop his head off, but you just see the shadow of it. You don't
I'm
see
still
like
happy we at least got that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny because it's like the movie had been so gory beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't get a big like blood splatter for that moment.
there's not much like practical gore in this film.
There was some blood earlier.
There's some blood,
There's
but
a
there's
little
no
bit.
like hands chopped off or heads chopped off or
No,
anything
it's just
like
like
that.
the odd like hole. in
Except
some
for that
view.
head, which we've decided is part of a reshoot to pad the movie out.
Yeah. Right.
If you're out there, Patrick or Sean Donahue, email us. We love parole violators, so
Yeah.
we love to talk.
Yeah, that's really fun. We should do that.
Yeah, I guess that's the movie. We just the bad guy's dead.
Yeah, it's
just like the film, we run out of steam.
And at the end, she's like, yeah.
yeah, she
Yeah,
puts
she
her hands
does.
up in the air,
And it
she's
was
like,
almost like
"Yeah."
it's almost like Deadly Prey. Where
Yeah.
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and
Did
then
it end
freeze
in a
frame?
freeze frame?
No, there's no freeze frame.
She continues on to the horizon
just
and then
stops.
does it again. And she goes,
That's
It's a
almost
double
as
yeah.
good. Yeah.
double yeah.
So
it's triumphant.
would not
moment.
recommend they call me Macho Woman.
It's not. You know what? It's not. It's kind of a flat.
Go
line.
watch, like, I'm sure there's a compilation clip online of all the best parts. The trailer is amazing. It has all the best parts in it. So
I
check
gotta
that
say,
out
it
instead.
wasn't like as painful as some bad movies that I've sat through.
It's not like being hit by
It's
a
not like
sledgehammer.
I gotta say, it's not like Sledgehammer, which is like on record as like one of the few movies that I wouldn't recommend.
Oh, I would.
But I'm just kind of like so on this movie because while it was fun but it's just like I would just watch Parole Violators.
It takes a long time
because
to
it's
kick
very
on.
similar to Parole Violators, only it's a lot more boring.
Yeah,
It also
Parole
has
has a
music
better pace.
Yeah.
that runs throughout the
Yeah,
like
yeah.
do the entire
it's the
time.
same song.
All right, so
especially when you're coming from Magic Crystal.
Yeah.
it's like some
Where
of the
so
best
much
action.
happens. Yeah.
so Magic Crystal, definite recommendation.
man. It's so
Absolutely.
good.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, get through the kind of comedy goofiness, but it's always
But the comedy
entertaining.
goofiness is
Some
so
of it
like
was,
raw.
was,
too.
was
It's really
funny.
And so you can find Magic Crystal. It's been released on DVD in Hong Kong and really nowhere else. Pretty much. I think you probably get it at like yesasia.com. And if you really want to watch, you're like a a Donahue completist. They Call Me Macho Woman's available on Troma's official website,
on
a
YouTube.
YouTube page. Yeah, because they own the rights to it. That's why it probably has such a ridiculous title and cover, because that's like the Troma brand.
Right.
I just wanted to say real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to the podcast This Film is Lit, because they mentioned us on their Q&A episode, which is the prequel episode for Mary Poppins. It's two hosts. They take movie adaptations that have been adapted from books, and they discuss which is better, the book or the movie. Highly recommend it. It's become one of my favorite podcasts. Their Harry Potter series is amazing. It's very in-depth, and if you're a fan, I would highly recommend checking that out.
Did they read They Call Me Macho Woman as well?
Oh, that might be a future episode.
Adapted from the Donald Westlake novel of the same name.
No.
Donald E. Westlake?
Donald E. Westlake.
Wait,
sorry.
actually, it depends what kind of novel he was writing. Is it some kind of magical xylophone?
By the way, it's hosted by one half of Good Bad or Bad Bad, which we've mentioned before.
But it's not bad bad or good bad.
No,
No.
that's a whole other
But
podcast.
They call me
God damn it.
They Call Me Macho Woman could be on Good Bad or Bad Bad for sure.
They call me bored audience. How about that?
Hey-o. The listeners like,
I also wanted to announce that we now have a Twitter account.
What?
I created it today. It's at No Such Thing Pod.
okay. No such thing as a podcast.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
We were never really here.
Had no room to do. It was a way too long handle to do No Such Thing as a Bad Movie, so it's called No Such Thing Pod, and we'll be posting episodes on there and any episode related content. But I will also be posting stuff on my personal Twitter, which is at April Atmansky.
And my Twitter is at Decloux, DECLOUX, letter J. You can follow me on Letterboxd as well. Justin the Clue, last name DECLOUX.
And I'm at Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA. And I'll be posting stuff about the podcast on my personal account too.
And we're also going to be setting up a Patreon very, very soon. And we're going to have two tiers on that. Look for that soon. We'll be posting. We'll announce it. It's going to be available this month.
So get those $5 bills ready, just like ready to mail them or pigeon them, or how do
Yeah.
people give money now?
Carrier pigeon.
That's right. Owls. Harry Potter. Did you guys see that Harry Potter trivia that wizards...
Yes.
Wait, Colin, you didn't know this?
I did tell him about it the other day.
That wizards back in the day, they didn't use toilets. They would just poop.
Oh, they would shit in their robes.
And they just magic it away.
Wait, okay. How did this come up?
This is what happened.
J.K. Rowling say this?
No, this Twitter was on Pottermore. So this trivia was on Pottermore.
All this needs to stay in the podcast.
It was on Pottermore, which is the Harry Potter.
We got to pad out this
forum.
podcast.
It was on there for years. And
Oh,
for
was it?
It was. And then for some reason, the Pottermore Twitter decided to tweet it.
Yeah.
And then it got picked up by Twitter, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" But
Is it officially sanctioned by J.K.
I
Rowling?
heard that it was, but I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
The best tweet was like, can you imagine sitting and you're doing a test in like Snape's class or something like that, and then like Billy Buzzbucket or something like that shits his pants.
Talk about things I did not need to know.
And it's like really loud. And people brought up like, wait, does that mean like the people who believe only in the pure race still shit their pants because they don't like Muggle stuff? So they
We
want
believe in the old ways. Yeah. Also, real quick, I just wanted to talk about, because I know you did a whole like list on your other podcast, The Important Cinema Club, about your favorite movies of 2018. I'm just going to mention one movie that I feel like was very underappreciated that came out in 2018, which is Suspiria. Now, it's funny because we were just talking before about how movies are too long these days. This one is a little too long. It has a little too much extra story in there, but I just loved it. And I feel like all my major like people that I follow, reviewers, are not talking about it enough. It's amazing. See it.
Okay.
It's really good. I don't know if it was too long. I think maybe on like, second
It's like a
viewing or
2.5
something.
hour.
It's very long. It's long.
Loved it. I
But
loved it as well.
didn't. It's not one of those things like I can't wait to rewatch this.
I
but
can't. I was
really-
gonna see it again in theaters, but
I will.
never
I
did.
will. Due to the length, obviously. But
Don't worry, we're all wizards here. We can shit our pants.
just shit our pants.
we don't
and
have to-
That way we don't have to
wizard
get up and go to the
Just magic
bathroom.
away.
Oh, I wish I could do that.
It still smells, right?
I
And it
wish
still
I-
makes a sound.
hadn't
It's the sound. It still makes the sound.
Where does it go?
I shouldn't have like supersized my Coke.
Don't worry.
Was
But yeah, I mentioned on Twitter what I thought the underappreciated movies of the year were. But if I could recommend anybody see anything from 2018 that they maybe haven't seen, it would be Suspiria.
It's really good. Yeah, it's a slow burn, but it's really.
It's No Such Thing as a Bad Movie approved.
And that'll do it for this week. If you want to email us, you can email us at nosuchthingasabadmovie@gmail.com. And
or tweet at us.
Or you can tweet at us at nosuchthingpod. I'm April Lemansky.
I'm Colin Cunningham.
And my name's Justin the Clue.
And there's no such thing as a bad movie.